So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our last part to Alternate Routes, All Roads Lead to Success for part 3 in the workshop series, Financial Literacy, Life After Graduation. So we've got some fun activities tonight, and my co-facilitator this evening is Miss Alicia Hauser, our peer mentor. So she's going to be assisting me with tonight's workshop. So we'll both be your facilitators and presenters, okay? So first of all, has everybody gotten your code to take the Strengths Quest, first of all? Yes. Okay, and you just got yours tonight for coming, so no worries. If you did attend, like I said, I promised, even if you're not in Roar Scholars, you will receive a free access code to actually take the Strengths Quest. I recommend that you print it off and come and see one of us, specifically since we've gone through the Strengths Quest, so that we can kind of help you read it specifically, because there's a lot of good information specifically. I know Miss Jones has been asking me, what does this mean? How can I use this? And I said, we're going to continue going through this. At the very end of this, you should have a really good basis understanding about where you are with your various different strengths, as well as what does it mean for you professionally as a young professional. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started and jump right in. So kind of our outline specifically, obviously since we're talking about financial literacy, we want to have a little brief conversation about budgeting and credit, obviously. But some new things that we're going to talk about tonight is, now that you've graduated, now what? Now that you've graduated, now what's next? Salary negotiation, which is something that many students don't really have a clue to do or what you should do. Employer benefits and non-salary perks, which are some things that you'll actually get used to in the real world. So you won't be kind of have a surprise when you go to that lovely human resources meeting with your first employer and they give you all this information and you're like, I have no idea what she just said. Okay, so we're going to kind of go over a few different things, some key terms, and kind of have some scenarios so that you guys can kind of get familiarized with some things that you'll see life after graduation. Okay. All right, so first of all, I want to do this little activity. So over here on the left side, you have this little graphic. I want you to stare at the graphic for a second, okay? And look at the graphic and tell me what is the first impression of this little graphic that you see right here. Someone stressed out. Okay. Anybody else?
That picture?
Yes, this picture right here. What do you see?
Begging for change.
He's begging for change. Okay. There's a guy bearing the what now?
I feel like he sees what he wants the man to be, what he could be.
Ah, okay, you're getting there. Let's go a little bit deeper. So, go ahead.
I thought this more of like this could be you. You're not.
Yeah, that's what
Ah, yes, okay. So this could be representative of where you are now, okay, or where you've been. Your hardships, your struggles, your tribulations, your obstacles. I think everybody can kind of relate being a college student, not having a lot of money in your account or having to wait for that next paycheck. So you could be that person on the street, you know, begging for change. And then you see the gentleman, he's kind of bending down, looking at his reflection, and he's putting his hand in his pocket. What does that represent? Give you money, okay. Compassion, okay. More prospectively, does that represent the future you? Where you are in 5 years?
Yeah.
As opposed to where you are now as a college student?
Maybe a little longer for me.
A little longer, yeah. Well, some of us will have a little bit longer to go because we're going to be a surgeon or a doctor, lawyer, those kind of things. But this could be where you could be in about 5 to 10 years, right? So the future you. So once again, you know, we talked about, if you remember from our first 2 workshop series, the first 2 alternate routes, academic development and then career development, we talked about the past. So you have to know where you've been in order to know where you're going. We talked about the present. So you have to know where you are currently right now, how you're feeling, what are some of your objectives, what are some of your goals specifically in order to know where you're going for your future. So this is very representative of the past you, the present you, and then the reflection itself is the future you. Okay? So it's kind of all tenses in one, which is a really interesting thing. So I have below here, is this an optical illusion or is it self-resilient when it comes to empowerment? So think about that for a second. Is this an optical illusion or does it represent self-resiliency, resilient when it comes to empowerment? Yes?
Help people listen.
No? Maybe?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why do you think so, Ashley?
Well, I think a lot of people get stuck in a certain place and they don't move forward, and I think that shows like where you want to be,
Okay.
and that if you really work hard enough or you keep going, that you can achieve it.
Absolutely. So having the drive, the
Drive, the
tenacity,
passion.
the passion to accomplish your goal. One of my former bosses used to call that the juice, having the juice. So do you have the juice, everybody? Do you have the energy? Do you have the drive to get where you're going? So having the juice. Anybody else? What do you see when you look at this picture?
Having the determination to go forward.
Having the determination to go forward. What gives you that drive to have that determination?
When somebody tells you you can't do something.
When someone says you can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So true.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How many of you have had a professor tell you that?
I've had a counselor tell me.
Or a counselor?
Yeah.
Or a teacher?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? I think we all can relate at some point in our life. Some of us, it could have been a guidance counselor or a counselor specifically. For others, it could have been somebody who we thought was a mentor, but then they were really harsh and said something, well, you know, you're not going to achieve this. This is a lofty goal. For me, it was an English teacher that told me I was not going to go to college. College was not in my foreseeable future. You know, 2 degrees later, and we're getting ready to start work on my doctorate. I have to say that, you know, she was incorrect. But you know, so that's why I always kind of reflect back on this opportunity to kind of talk about our past, our present, where we currently are in our current state, and then also our future, where we're kind of looking at. Now, I want you to write as many things on a piece of paper. You can write it on your packet if you want to. As many things as you can think about when it comes to destiny. Remember, that's one of those key words that we had last week on the career development part that really stuck out to a lot of students was destiny. So, how do you see yourself? Are just some of these questions I want to ask. So how do you see yourself?
Just write words.
Yeah, just write words that come to mind.
Like now or the future self?
It could be both. If you want to make like a column and you can put now, the present, and then the future, you can do that. If you wanted to do all three, past, present, and future, you could do that as well. So we want to make this more adaptive to yourself. Okay? So the first one is, how do you see yourself? Okay? Part 2 is, where are you going? So what path are you taking? Or what path are you choosing to take? Number 3 is, what will you do once you get there? So once you've accomplished your goal and you got on correct path, what will you do once you've gotten there? And then number 4 is, what strategies or tools do you have at your disposal to help you accomplish your goal or your task? Okay? So number 1 is, how do you see yourself? Number 2 is, where are you going? Kind of your end result. Number 3, what will you do once you get there? So once you've accomplished your goal and tactic, what will you do once you get there specifically? And then number 4 is, what strategies or tools do you have at your current disposal? Okay, so take a few seconds to kind of finish that up and we'll have a discussion about it. Would anybody like to share any of their ones they put down? You still writing? You would like to share, Mr. Jones? Okay. Which one would you like to share? How you see yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you see yourself?
Becoming a teacher.
Becoming a teacher, okay.
And to get to that point, to become a teacher, I have to take certain steps.
Okay,
One is to get 2 more years of schooling.
2 more years of schooling, so completing your major requirements, right?
Yeah. And then after that, take the practice test.
Take the praxis, okay.
Um,
Praxis 1 and 2, okay.
And then after I do that, then you will tell me whether I pass it to
Okay.
become a teacher.
Okay,
And then I can go into the job to go to school.
right. I think one important thing to add in there is you'll have to do your internship too.
Oh, yeah.
You'll have to do your internship, yeah, to make sure that you can work with the different levels. But very good, thank you. Would anybody else like to share what, no, whichever one comes to mind?
What will I do once I get there? I just want to help as many people as I can, and maybe help people who have been through things that I've been through. Maybe be a mentor for them.
Absolutely. Very cool, thank you. Anybody else? And if you don't want to share, that's okay. These are just kind of thought-provoking questions for us specifically. I think one that's really important to share, and you can come on in, is what strategies or tools do you have at your disposal? I think that's a really important one specifically that I want to target. And I think the reason for is I think you can learn a lot from each other, from peer to peer. So what's one thing or one strategy that you have learned in the last 6 months that you'd be willing to share with anybody? Anybody want to share?
What kind of strategy?
Just think that something that you've learned specifically in your training, or your overcoming obstacles, or just in you navigating college. Is there one particular strategy or tool that you've learned at your disposal that you want to share? Okay.
I learned if you strategize your time,
Mm-hmm.
you can get a lot accomplished
Right. Okay.
within that
Time frame. Okay.
time frame for getting whatever you need to get done. And
Right.
learn to new ways of studying,
Okay.
strategies for taking tests, because I'm learning that now.
Okay.
It's not only one way of doing things, they're all variables of how to get to that point where you need to get to
Okay.
and do it.
So making sure that you use your tools and strategies, prioritize and planning, making sure you're strategic. Okay. Very cool. That's actually using some of the strengths that are coming out. So that's kind of a good thing. So anybody else have a strategy or tool that they can use specifically? So Alicia, would you hand one of the, you got a packet in front of you, Jabbar. Okay. Anybody else? So, okay.
I would guess it's kind of like strength question in a sense, just like knowing what you're good at and just working on that.
Mhm.
And just kind of like if somebody else is good at something else that contributes to the whole team, just going to them and asking for their help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Jakari?
Yeah, I was like basically not saying the same thing. Just like taking advantage of like resources.
Mm-hmm.
Like when one person is specialized at a certain topic or a certain situation, go to them for help.
Right.
To try to help yourself.
Okay. So basically don't carving out the mountain when the path is already carved for you. So using your resources and strengths. Very cool. Okay. So those are some things I want you to think about. So here is the 4 domains of strength-based leadership specifically. Now, for those of you that have taken the Strengths Quest assessment, your strengths should kind of be resounding and kind of look at specifically. So we're going to take a poll to see if you've taken your Strengths Quest. Raise your hand just to kind of know a little bit about everybody. Okay, so we got at least 4 people in the room. Okay. Emerald Sims sent that out this morning, so if you haven't received the information, we'll send it out again. Obviously, we'll make sure we follow up with you for joining us this evening, so I appreciate that. So let's go through the first area, so executive. So based on the information that I've read, executive are the powerhouses of the 4 domain of leadership. These are the individuals that want to take a task and they want to tackle it head on. So they want to be, as you can see, achiever, arranger, belief, consistency, deliberative, discipline, focus, responsibility, and restorative. So did anybody have any of those in your group?
I had 3 of those.
You had 3 of those, okay.
I had achiever, responsibility, and restorative.
Okay. Ms.
I
Georgette?
had discipline, learner.
Well, no, we're talking about the first category first, though.
The first
So you had just
one.
one. Okay. Okay.
And discipline.
Okay, discipline and arranger. So you had 2, and Ashley, you had 3 of your 4 were in there out of 5. Okay.
And I had responsibility too.
Oh, okay. So you had 3 too.
Yeah.
So we had 3 and 3. Okay.
Right.
So you guys are really driven in terms of executing. So executing in task. Okay. Number 2 is the influencers. These are people specifically who like to persuade other people. They like to win them over to your side. They like to persuade them with new information. They like to know what's going on so they can talk about various different topics. We have activator, command, communication, competition, maximizer, self-assurance, significance, and woo. So anybody have 2 or more in this category? Anybody? I do. I have communication and woo. So,
He got the woo, he got the woo.
So woo is basically going over to people, and if they're strangers, they won't be strangers for long because you'll talk to them and actually woo them over to your side. So communication, obviously, being I like to communicate with people and know what's going on around them specifically. So that category is directly with influencing people and persuading them and learning new people. The next one is more on the relationship piece, so building relationships. So once you've met people, actually continuing to build those relationships with personal ability. Now this is kind of where your what they call high emotional intelligence comes into play. So if you have a high emotional intelligence, you're usually going to have your majority of yours are going to be in this area. So relationship building, so adaptability, connectedness, developer, empathy, harmony, includer, individualization, positivity, and relator.
I got the relator.
Got a relator? Okay. Empathy. I got empathy as well. I'm also individualization as well. So I've got two of them in the category of relationship building. All right. And then finally, but definitely not least, is the strategic thinking. So these are our people that like to plan out details. Our detail people. Okay, so they can find the minute details as well as the individual puzzle pieces that help fit in the larger picture. Strategic thinkers are analytical, content, futuristic, ideation, input, intellection, learner, and strategic. Okay, you got learner, input. Okay, I have strategic as well, so planning and strategic steps and strategies.
I had 3.
You had 3. Okay.
Content, I believe I had input and learner.
Okay, very cool. So we kind of had a wide range across the room about specifically where most of our focus is. Some of us were more executing, some of us were more influencing, some of us were more relationship building with people, and then finally our strategic thinking. So we're going to come back to that later on an activity, so just keep that in mind as we go along. Okay. You know I'm a quote person, so I put some quotes in here, so things I wanted to follow, but I wanted to get your ideas about these quotes. So this one, the first one says, "Inside every rich man is a poor kid that followed his dreams." Inside every rich man is a poor kid that followed his dreams. When you think about that quote, does anything kind of stand out to you specifically? Or have a resounding impression upon you specifically?
Yeah,
Okay.
'cause that's like the saying, you gotta walk before you crawl. Before you can get where you're going, you have to, there are things you have to go through to get there.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Any other different perspective or take on that?
I don't think it necessarily means like rich and money.
Okay.
It could just be you becoming what you planned out to be.
Right. Absolutely. So happiness is not necessarily relegated to just wealth. Wealth could be that you could be the happiest person in the world, and you only have like $2 to your name specifically. It was once asked the question of me when I took a team of individuals to Jamaica to do some service learning. Why do the people seem so happy? They have nothing. And that was a really interesting question that was proposed to me. And I said, maybe it's because of their outlook on how they engage in what they do have. So not so much the lack thereof, but more engaging in what they do have. So very different dynamic. All right, the second quote I'm going to read is, "No matter what happened to you in your past, you are not your past. You are the resources and the capabilities you glean from it. And that is the basis for all change." Okay? So no matter what happened to you in your past, you are not your past. You are the resources and the capabilities you glean from it. And that is the basis for all change. And that is from our lovely Wolf on Wall Street, Mr. Jordan Belfort. So, thoughts about that quote? No matter what happened to you in your past, you are not your past. You are the resources and the capabilities you glean from it, and that is the basis for all change.
I think like you can overcome your past to achieve greatness.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the
Only thing? Anybody else? Anything? Exactly. I think that your past does not dictate your future. It's only a part of who you are, right?
Yeah, I don't want to let like my past dictate and
Yeah.
decide my future.
I always tell students that it's okay to revisit the past. You just can't live there.
Right.
You have to live in the present and you have to plan towards your future.
That's life for me.
Absolutely. Okay, great. All right. So the world of work, and this is kind of small print, so I apologize, but I wanted to get it on one page specifically. But most people go to college and they can eventually get a higher paying job and satisfying career. But to get to that point, most students need to work at least in the summer times, if not year round. Absolutely, right? These jobs are important for the combination of money, experience, work ethic, and relationships they provide. When you graduate, however, you're ready for a career, not a job, right? There's a difference. You'll need to start networking, interviewing, and considering employment offers. And you'll need to start thinking about these adult-like issues like life insurance and taxes, that the world of work that you're about to encounter. Both part-time jobs and careers hold many challenges and rewards, but being prepared, you can be sure to succeed, okay? So here's some things we want to talk about, is finding work opportunities, applying for jobs or work, assessing your job offers, understanding insurance, and taxes, okay? So first of all, how many of you have begun, how many juniors or seniors in here? We have anybody juniors or seniors, okay? Have you started looking for potential places of employment for next year, next summer? Yes, no,
Mine is like a means to an end. It's like,
okay,
I want to do missions work. I want to travel.
great,
I
okay,
wanna be a English teacher in a foreign country.
nice, okay,
So like my thing is making money to travel there, make
Okay.
relationships, like build relationships, and then I graduate, work there.
okay.
It's already made.
But you're already starting to strategically make those steps in the planning by networking and making money so that you can save up to do that. Okay, great. Anybody else? Alicia?
Nope, not there yet.
Not yet? I thought you raised your hand, so I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
it's fine. I'll talk. I need to get my life together, Tom.
Get your life together, okay.
Graduation is coming soon, and
Yeah,
I said I was gonna go to grad school and stuff, so I'm just kind of getting caught up in what I'm doing right now instead of actually planning.
planning for the future.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because the hustle and bustle of everyday life can sometimes be consuming. It can consume your life as a college student, because your first priority in college is what? Your classes, right? Making sure you can sustain that GPA so that you can be here with your GPA and your class and your colleagues and stuff. But remembering, I always tell students, you should really, when you start planning, think in terms of 6 months out. Creating your 6-month action plan. So 6 months out before you graduate, you should start implementing various steps, specifically looking for graduate schools, assessing job offers, assessing graduate school opportunities. If you have a top 10, getting those top 10 prospective places of employment, or top 10 graduate schools, getting them down to 5, and then getting them down to top 3. Obviously, first of all, it's expensive to apply for graduate schools. So if you want to apply to 10 graduate schools, go ahead, but it's going to be expensive. So I just think 5 is more of a measurable piece that you can actually do.
And I got into the two right
Yeah.
there.
Exactly, it can be expensive, right?
I got in here and I got in
CSU, right?
CSU.
Yeah, Charleston Southern.
Yeah, but they were expensive.
So paying for those applications can be expensive specifically, okay? So just kind of knowing what your opportunities are. One of the tools that we'll show you how to do, and I don't necessarily have this today, but I can print out a copy for you, is what we call a career or a job matrix. So it's keeping everything that you apply for in a very neat format using Excel, so that when you have job offers, you can go back and actually type the information in and kind of know what your flow is. It's kind of like a flow chart for applying for jobs, as well as what's coming in and what's going out. And it's really handy to have when you're assessing jobs, okay? Applying for work opportunities. Obviously, there's going to be some career fairs coming up in the springtime, looking for not only summer employment, but also looking for full-time employment. Take those opportunities to, if someone decides to give you an interview, take that opportunity to interview, because interviewing is part of the process. The first time out the gate, you may not be well polished, but the more that you do it, the more that you practice, the better off that you're going to be, okay? And practice does make perfect. I always kind of refer back to that. This job right here that I applied for, it was over the course of 2 years, so I applied for 87 jobs over 5 states. I had 3 interviews. Each interview consisted of 2 parts, a phone interview and an on-campus interview, and then I landed this job. So, don't allow, sometimes it gets easy to get frustrated. It's easy to get to kind of, I'm not getting any feedback. I'm not getting any nibbles or bites, they say specifically, for your work. But don't allow that to hinder your growth. You can always learn something from your interviews. You can always take something away so you can be a better professional, personally and professionally, when you actually interview. Because every interview that I did, I learned something new. So I learned something new, either a strategy of how to handle myself, engaging in the interview process, maybe a question that I didn't answer as effectively as I could have. And then the more that you practice, the more better you're able to answer questions specifically. Okay, and we'll talk about assessing job offers and understanding insurance and taxes.
Yeah, and I have this question too.
Okay.
Because usually when you're in an interview,
Mm-hmm.
they always ask you that last question. Do you have any questions?
Right. Absolutely. You have questions. You want to have at least 3 to 4 questions depending on how your time is. I always tell students have 5. Have 5 questions is a really good number. That way you don't have 2 less. You have just enough. If you have enough time, you can ask 3. If you have a lot of time, you can ask 5. So kind of gauge your time,
So
how things are.
What kind of question you ask at the
What
end?
kind of questions? One is a really good one that shows that you've actually done your research. Is you ask the people who are on your panel, what made you want to get in this type of career or field? Why are you passionate about your work? Those are good questions because 1, it shows insight. 2, it shows that you've done your homework on that organization. And 3, you're actually genuinely interested in the people. Why did they apply for a job? For instance, we just had finished our program counselor interviews this last 2 weeks. One of the questions that 2 of our applicants asked, why are you passionate about the work that you do? They asked of all of our panel people. And I thought that was great. It was brilliant because, I mean, it really shows that they are interested in the position. They're interested in knowing who the players are, and they want to know, why did you get involved in this organization? Okay? So very cool. That's one insight. Another one would be asking questions specifically about, if you've got questions about any of the packages, like the insurance or what your start date would be specifically. Because start dates really depend on, first of all, if you're doing a job, obviously giving your 2 weeks notice in, not just quitting and moving on, because that can actually follow you if you're applying for future jobs. And then kind of, they'll give you a kind of a start date, and then you can kind of counter offer, which, yes, I want employment, but I can't start until 2 weeks after this, and then you guys work out the actual package when you sign off on it and for employment through HR. So there's very different questions you can ask specifically. So another one would be is you can ask, what are former employees doing now? You know, in terms of growth, is there opportunity for growth in this organization? You might want to know that because you might want to become a manager one day. You know, so those are good questions to specifically ask. So that's a good question, actually. So, okay, all right. So using our Strengths Quest, kind of figuring out how do you build your strengths and how do you maximize your opportunity. Now that once you've completed your 5 strengths and you know what they are, what does it look like? Okay, so strengths are things that we know are our abilities to constantly provide almost perfect performance in a specific task. Okay, those are what our strengths are specifically. So they're things that we have, that we learn, that we've developed. Now talents is a little bit different. Talents are a natural reoccurring pattern of thought, feeling, or behavior that can be productively applied. So these are things that we're naturally good at. So some of us might be more attuned to listening to people. So listening skills, or be effective communicators. Others might be really honed into dealing with stressful situations. You know, be able to manage stressful situations naturally. Others might be able to speak a foreign language. You know, I know that that's really a natural ability. You either have it or you don't. You can learn, yes. But a friend of my family's, Melissa Musio, she knows 7 different languages. Now, she has a knack for learning language, hands down. I mean, she speaks all 7 fluently. So, I mean, it blows me away. So we either have that talent or we don't. You know, I mean, you can learn how to speak in a foreign language, but to have 7 and speak them fluent, that's a natural talent right there. All right? So we have our strengths, we have our talents. Now your skill sets. Now these are things that we can learn, skill sets. So the basic ability to move through the fundamental steps of a specific task. Okay, so skills are things that we learn along the way. So say you get hired for an organization and you have one skill set, they're obviously probably going to train you a little bit on learning the systems, learning how they navigate things, how they work, how the organization works and functions, okay? And then finally, the knowledge. So what you know is either a result of either formal or informal education. So the knowledge that you've collected from your 4 years that you've been here at the College of Charleston, your future knowledge that you'll learn in grad school, all of it coming to build on building your strengths, okay? Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. All right. Questions about that? No? All right. Now, assessing job offers. So when you start getting those job offers, and you will, they'll start coming in. You might have a little lull area where there might be a little bit no activity, but then all of a sudden you'll start getting these emails, these phone calls, these letters. We want to hire you, want to hire you, want to hire you. And they start coming in from various avenues. What do you do? How do you know when one is a good job offer and one's not, right? So here's some questions I want you to think about to help you tackle the issue. How do I assess my job offers? First of all, I think a job matrix is the best thing to have, so you can put it out there. You want to compare pay rates. You want to look at how much are they willing to pay you, okay? Per hour, per salary, is it hourly? Look at those. Comparing your cost of living needs. Now, if you live in San Francisco versus South Carolina and Charleston, is there going to be a difference in cost of living? Yes, you better believe there will be. Now, if you want to be the high roller and you want to go to New York City, the cost of living is going to be different as well. So it really depends on where you live. So first of all, do your homework. So calculate the cost of living. Obviously, in a place where cost of living is going to be higher, your salary probably, or hourly wage is going to be higher because of the cost of living. All right? Can you take days off? Is it part of your package, your employment package? That's very important as you continue to develop and grow. What if you get sick days? What if your grandma gets sick and you need to take care of her? What if you have a cat and your cat gets sick and you have to take off to take your cat to the vet? That would be important things to know. Do you have personal days? Do you have vacation days? Do you have sick days? Very, very important thing. So make sure you review your retirement benefits. Now, the first thing here is when you sit down with an HR benefits person and they go through all these benefits, it seems like a daunting task because they'll be spinning out all this stuff and you're like, oh my God, really? There's all these options of all this stuff I have to take. How do I choose what's best for me? Then one a really good question I always ask students to ask is when you go back for the HR benefits manager or counselor, have them kind of talk about what kind of living situation are you in? Are you married? Are you engaged? Are you seriously dating somebody? Because that eventually will dictate what benefits package you decide to go with in terms of insurance and things, okay? In terms of retirement too, obviously it might change. They always have these things called open enrollment. It happens every year, usually in the fall, usually in the late spring, they'll have open enrollment where you can change your packages. So if you get married, you would want to change your package. If you have a child, you want to change your package, obviously.
Kelly Services have the benefit package plan.
Right.
They have short-term disability, long-term disability, dental, vision, life insurance.
Right. So they have a whole bunch of stuff. Right.
Yeah, but you for them, you have to do it a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
For enrollment.
Right, that's what they call open enrollment periods. Yeah, usually it's around, typically it's like the last part of August till or late September, early October, and then the same thing goes with the spring. So early February to March sometime typically is the open window specifically. But it's important to look at that stuff because it does go rather quickly and it will impact, obviously what they take out from your check. Okay?
And they say you have to make a certain amount of days.
Right.
Work to be able to get it.
Absolutely, yeah. So in analyzing your employee provided health care coverage, very, very important specifically if you're an individual versus if you are a specific, if you're an individual versus if you're a single parent or you're a household. You want to look at that stuff specifically and look at what the coverage is. Looking at extra insurance, sometimes your spouse's insurance might be better than yours. So you might say, well, I decline that insurance, but I want the retirement, obviously, to accurately build up over time. But you might want your spouse's insurance because it might be better coverage. I know sometimes people don't provide vision care, like the College of Charleston. It's extra. They don't, because it doesn't provide them regularly right off the top of the bat. You have to actually look at. It's extra. Reviewing employee stock purchase plans. Now, some employees will be able to invest in the organization. If you're at a 501 or you're at one of these big top 10 Fortune 500 companies, guess what? After 6 months, after a year, after being employed, you'll have the benefit to actually purchase stock. Now that's huge. So if you work at Google, or you work at Apple, or you work at any of those big time Fortune 500 companies, after 6 months to a year, they will allow you to invest and actually buy stock of the company, which is pretty awesome. Okay? All right, looking at other perks. So additional perks that you might get could be you might have a flexible spending account. You might have the ability to have on-site health care or daycare. That's another one too that a lot of companies are now looking at. You might have on-site daycare. So if you eventually want to have a family, you can have the little toddler, little tyke with you very close by while you're working, and they usually have those new cams that you can watch, or even, some employees will actually let you bring your pets to work, which is kind of cool too, So it really depends on what type of atmosphere that you work in specifically. So comparing multiple job offers can be challenging, but it also can be manageable if you are organized and you use, I would say, a matrix, and also bounce off your deals. Now, dealing with hidden expenses of your first job. Now, when you hear that sentence, dealing with hidden expenses of your first job, what are some things that you think about? Yes?
Insurance is one, actually.
Insurance?
That's with my mom's job,
Right?
where they take a portion of her check out that goes to insurance, but
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily cover everything.
Right, absolutely. Another one would be, what if you have to relocate? What if you have to go to you got a job, you get all these like 5 job offers, but one of them is not in your state of South Carolina. You're going to have to move.
So some people pay for it for you or something like that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Some
I always
people
tell
have
people,
to-
negotiate, negotiate. I did that, and I got a job relocation package. So you have to be willing to negotiate, okay? But also don't be afraid to leave the state, because sometimes the best opportunities are sometimes outside the state, I was really proud of our former program counselor, Pratika Moody. She just got a job in Kansas City, Missouri. So she's moving on up. So out of the Ozarks. So don't be afraid to move to new places for job opportunities.
I ain't afraid to move, but cool. Some of them places
Well,
some.
I like little seasons now. It gets hot down here sometimes,
New York too cold now.
Well, I'm not talking about New York now. That can be a little too cold. But job relocation packages could be one. What about buying suits for the first time or buying professional attire? That can be expensive, right? How many of you have like a budget for that? You have a budget ready to buy professional dress?
I used to have
Yeah,
about-
yeah.
But
Okay.
see, I catch the sale at Belt.
There you go, catching the sales.
At the department store, they have like 60% off, like during Easter time, Christmas time, like the day after Thanksgiving, the Black Friday. where they
So just
slash
you're
off.
a shopper. You
Yeah.
make sure you look at those sales.
Yes,
Okay.
I make sure I look at all them sales.
Okay.
What's going on? So,
That's another great way to make sure that you can build up your wardrobe, because there's always things that men and women should have in their wardrobe. Okay? All right. All right, now, non-salary perks. Healthcare insurance, retirement benefits, flexible spending account. Now, this might come in handy. Say that you know exactly how much money you have. Say you have medicines. You have various different items and things that you know that you're going to need on a monthly basis. Coverage, you can put money into that comes out of your account and goes into a flexible spending account. But guess what? You actually get reimbursed for that money, and it comes back to you because you've already paid it out. You don't see that the money's been paid out because you don't miss it. But when you're going to pay for dental surgery, or you're going to pay for doctor's visits, or all these prescriptions, guess what? It can be expensive.
yeah.
So flexible spending accounts can come in handy. Also, child care assistance. We talked about that. Some places have that. Employment assistance programs, EAP programs. Now, this is a really cool thing to have. The college has an employment program called SAVE. So if you are a faculty or staff member and say that you're experiencing stress, or you're experiencing, you're going through divorce, or there's anxiety, or you're having problems with behavioral problems with your kids, anything, they have a SAVE program where you can actually get free confidential counseling services, free as a College of Charleston employee. So a lot of companies will have that. It's called the EAP program. Ours is called SAVE, Basically, you'll get assistance in dealing and managing with life issues, family issues, also bereavement, so death and dying, those kind of things will definitely help. Flex time is also a cool thing. Say that you have a company that has flex time, where you two individuals share a job, and one of you is like a night owl and you're working the nights, and the person works the days, but you share the same job. There are companies out there that are doing that now. It's pretty cool. Paid time off in a bank, where you could say that you don't spend all your time and you put it into a bank. Obviously, it's a virtual bank. It's not a real bank, but a virtual bank where vacation time can build up, or your sick leave. So just in case you do get sick, guess what? You have this extra resource that you can tap into. Stock ownership, telecommuting. Now, this is something that used to be a long time ago, used to be kind of, as they say, not really taboo, but not really in the here and the now. Now this happens all the time. People telecommute from home, and you get on Skype or you get on whatever, and you're constantly working on your assignments, working on your information, and you're sending information to and from the office and at your home environment, which is kind of cool, because you could be anywhere. You could be in a different state. Or if you work internationally, you could be spending your things overseas and work from your house. Tuition assistance. Some employment will give you tuition assistance. So you can go back to get your education, you can continue education, you can get your master's degree.
Whose job is that?
You got to find them. They're hard to find, but if you work the system and you find them, you can find them, because they're out there. Okay? Professional development, reimbursement. So if you go to a conference, getting reimbursed for any money that you spend out of pocket, you'll get reimbursed for it. Organizational memberships, that's really important, because the memberships can be expensive now. Like $150 to $175, $200 a year, after a while can be expensive. So knowing if your corporate organization or your organization is willing to pay for that is also a good thing. Paid life insurance and wellness programs. This is another cool thing. What if they have a gym free membership or reduced membership for gyms? You know, like the College of Charleston, now we have access to the new gym. Of course, it's not during the flexible time. We have to do between after the hours of 3 and 6 at night or in the morning to use it, but it's only $50 a semester, so that's a deal right there. Okay, and then also a better office space. So you know what kind of working environment are you in? Do you like a fast-paced office? Do you like a slow-paced office? Do you like an office that you never see people? Do you like an office where there's people constantly coming in the office every day? You know, depends on what you like. So know the office environment that you're in, so that you'll be better suited for the environment specifically. Any questions about those non-salary perks? Questions? Okay. Moving on. So we wanted to bring this up again, your 4-domain strengths-based leadership, because Miss lovely Alicia Hauser is going to do an activity with you based on negotiating for job salary. Okay.
Okay. So we did an activity like this in my class. So as far as your strength quests go, how many people did strength quests? And if you didn't, what's going to happen is I'm going to read the descriptions that Tom went over for each domain. And if you feel like that fits you more, we're going to divide up into groups, or you might be by yourself, hopefully not. So basically, we're going to have, all right, so if you have more, Tom, can you bring it back?
Yep.
Okay. So if you have like 3 things in one domain, you're going to link up with someone who has that same domain. Or if you have 2 in each, you choose which one that fits you better. And if you haven't done the strengths quest, I'm going to describe the domain, and then you're going to link up anyway. So, whereas I'm concerned, I'm in strategic thinking, because I have 3 things that are in that category, so I might participate as well. So if you have executing, I know it's a small space, but executing, can you go over that way?
Sure.
Whether you're standing or not. And if you haven't taken strengths quest, the executors tackle a task head on. So if that sounds like you would be with that set of people. Influencing, like Tom said, those are the people that like to persuade others. So if that sounds more like you, then you can get with those people. Relationship building, continue to build relationships, and that means you have high emotional intelligence. So if that's more of your field, you would get with those people. And strategic thinking, means you like to plan out details. And basically for this activity, when you're in your small groups or individually, like Tom said, we'll be thinking about like salary negotiation. Just think about the job that you would like to go for. How would you basically persuade your boss or come up with some form of a proposal to get the job that you want? like the salary that you want. No matter what the salary is, it could be ridiculous. How are you gonna go about getting that? We're only gonna spend like 2 or 3 minutes doing that. So, as I said, executing, you can stand over that way, I guess. Yes, is that you?
Okay. So executing over here,
So basically,
Or in the pyramid.
whatever you want it to go.
Just because I know everybody's seated kind of. Influencing, you can stay in the middle if you choose to. Relationship building. Jakari, relationship building? Okay, well, relationship building is going to be over there. And strategic thinking will be right here.
What about executive?
Georgia, you're over here.
Yeah, then you're over there. You have more than one thing. that
Yeah,
you
if you're executive, you're over there. We'll just say the influencers are right here. So I'm an influencer, pretty much, and also a relationship builder.
Your strategic thinking too?
You got 3 in it.
Yeah.
Is anybody influencing?
I'll be influencing.
Okay, so what do we have? We have executing,
I feel like I don't
relationship
have
building,
any of
strategic thinking. Thomas. by
I'll be
himself.
the influencing.
Others.
Okay.
Alright, so just talk amongst yourselves on how you're gonna
That's
get
okay.
the-
So here is the scenario, basically right here. Salary negotiation, what you need to have. There's some things that we want to cover. Tact and skill. What you need to do, you got to do your research, obviously. What you need to consider. Benefits, cost of living, geographic location, work environment, and corporate culture. And then most of all, figure out what you are worth. This is a really cool little survey that you can take to figure out what skill sets you have and what people rank them as. Okay?
Which group would like to start first?
I think this is just me.
Okay, our relationship builder. How would you go about getting more money in your job?
I mean, more than likely, like I said, I'll be a teacher, and where I want to be at, the cost of living is very low. To get more money, I don't think I want more money, but I know where I'd be at. They don't really have doctors for everyone. Like it's really expensive.
She's using the connectedness piece because she's using a skill set that she's like, I'm willing to work extra hours as long as you can cover my health care.
Yes, it appears like she cares more about other people. So
Right.
what group wants to go next?
Me.
All right, executors. How would you get more money?
Here in South Carolina.
Wherever.
Or wherever you go.
I'll be teaching here in South Carolina.
So therefore, you wouldn't be making a lot of money.
I thought you said you wanted to go to
But
Florida.
I want to go to Florida. Florida usually pay you more than here, because I have went there.
Okay.
And I have lived there for a year.
So how would you negotiate there to get more money?
I would let them know, show them my degrees
Okay.
and all of my certifications that I have. To, let them know that I have all of this experience. I have experience along with that.
Okay.
To get higher pay.
Okay.
And
Good leadership skills
Yeah,
as like
yeah.
executive.
Yeah.
I think that's really
that
important.
too.
Okay.
You know how to get things done.
Yeah, get the job done and let them know I, really want the job.
Right.
And if they put like benefits in there, I
Okay.
might could negotiate, go,
I think insurance is really important.
yeah, it is.
All right, so anything stick out for executing? Achiever?
Oh yeah.
I think that explain it themselves. All right, strategic thinkers, go ahead. Who wants to talk?
Well, since we can come back to you guys if you're not ready yet. You want me to go first?
Oh,
All right, since I'm the only influencer in here, I would definitely use my strengths of being a woo in communication. I would do a Prezi presentation and do a resume, which I'm actually almost finished with mine. So I would do a resume of skill sets that I learned, what I brought to the table, what I am currently working on, and how I can actually increase productivity and accomplishments. So I would do a presentation to win them over.
Winning them over.
Yep.
And I think yours was on, persuading others, so of
Yep.
course that fits with you. All right, strategic thinkers.
I would say is find out the situation that we have. And we're just gonna make a proposal, telling them, hey, you can do this, we're good at this. This is what we do. So tell us what we can do to make the company better, wherever we're working at, make that better, and give us more money, give us more incentive to find out different ways to make that better.
And that's good. It's so strategic. Like we said, we make plans and all that stuff, so I'm pretty sure strategic goes right along with it. Alright, and the basis of this exercise is just to show that no matter what domain you have, there is a way to get to the ultimate goal, which is to negotiate. So either way, there's no wrong or right way, it's just a different approach. So if you're stronger in one domain, that doesn't mean that you're less likely to be able to negotiate. So that's all we can discuss.
Thank you, Ms. Hauser. Good job with that activity, guys. Good job. All right, so now you've heard a little bit more about but actually, when you get a chance and had some free time, go to that website, naceweb.org, research salary survey, and check out and take a little survey to see how much you're worth. It's kind of interesting to see based on information that's provided by labor statistics. Okay? All right, so in our final preparation, it is health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, and faithfulness the best relationship. That was by Buddha himself. I just thought I'd like to end with that little quote right there. So, wrapping it up, placing the final finishing touches on your city. If you have not started your city map, now will be the time to start working on it. If you have, and you'd like to finish it up, now is the time as well. Things that we want to think about tonight is paying for school, how to pay for school, various ways to pay for school, which on the actually city map, that's green and blue, I believe. Ways to pay for graduate school, paying off your school debt, career planning, and saving for retirement.
Have you ever thought about doing like outside of work, doing like fundraisers, to raise money?
That's actually a thought of mine that I have, but we have to get everybody on board to do it. So that's a good point. Okay. So if you haven't started your map over here, you've got your phone boards and markers to actually start it. And if you're interested, we'll get you some flyers so that you can complete your actual city map. So some completed maps to show you what a completed map looks like. We have some. Do you want to show yours off?
Yes. I love my map. It took me so long.
I was very impressed.
So do I just like show it to
Yeah,
everyone?
you just hold it up and show it.
I use glitter for my lake of achievement, and it like it connects, and then like it's like a candy lamp that you like progress, and then like my mom has supported me a lot, so like I made it different colors to go with like along the way, just so she's helping with everything along the way, and it's always connected to achievement all the way, and then like it's a never ending struggle, so I always like do like the infinity sign and then
Very cool.
and then like it's all like financial struggles and stuff, and then financial hardship got its own little section. But yeah.
Cool. Miss Courtney's not here tonight, but I wanted to re-show hers off. This is Miss Courtney's, Courtney Lawrence's. So that's hers. Yeah. Have you finished yours, Hauser, yet?
I never made it onto this.
Oh,
I
okay.
did like
Are you
the
gonna show yours?
paper one.
All right, okay. And then this was mine I showed last week, so this
Yeah,
is what mine
yours
looks
is so
like.
impressive.
Yeah, so little map.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess.
So if you want to see these as examples, you can come free to come up and pick them up.
See mine,
Yeah.
in front of you, I didn't really.
You're doing a rainbow color. It's good. All right. So any questions you guys have? Okay. Before we close, I do want you to fill out your evaluations. The evaluation is three parts, so it's actually got information about all three sessions if you've been to all three sessions. So please fill that out with your name and information, and we'll use those for Qualtrics assessment. Okay. So any questions that you guys have about any of the information that we covered tonight? No? Okay.
I'll ask some more later.
Did you learn some new information? And if so, what will you take away from tonight? I always like to know, email a note where what's at least one thing you'll take away from this evening.
Learning how to negotiate and doing the job.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I think I would have problems with that. 'Cause I'm a people pleaser.
Ah, okay, okay. What about you, Jakari? What's one thing that you're taking away from this evening?
That it doesn't matter like what kind of person you are, like the way you think, it doesn't matter that. You can always find a way to get the job done.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Well, thank you folks again. We hope you enjoyed this series of alternate routes with being infused with the Strengths Quest, which is new this year. We hope you guys are, please be honest on your evaluations, let us know. Obviously at the end of the year evaluation, if you like Strengths Quest, let us know, okay?